Welcome to Thriving Through, the podcast that pulls back the curtain on the world of independent consulting and shows you exactly what you need to do to build a successful consulting practice. I'm AJ, I'm your host, and each week I dive deep into the real life stories of self-employed consultants who have transformed their expertise into thriving businesses. Now, this isn't about glossy success stories or overnight miracles. This is about the grit, the strategies, and the resilience it takes to build a consulting practice that is not only financially rewarding, but also personally fulfilling. From navigating the feast or famine cycle to landing dream clients, from managing the unique challenges of entrepreneurship to creating systems that support your business, I'm covering it all. Each episode features a candid conversation with consultants who've been where you are. We share their stories, their insights, and the hard-earned lessons that transform their business into a thriving practice. So whether you're just starting out, looking to level up as a consultant, or wanting to reignite your passion for consulting, this podcast is for you. It's your weekly dose of inspiration, insight, and strategies that will pump you up and motivate you for the rest of the week. So grab a cup of coffee, get comfortable, and get ready to learn, get inspired, and most importantly, to thrive. Welcome to this episode of the Thriving Through podcast. Today, my guest is Jessica Powell. She is the owner and brand amplifier at Social Balances. She describes herself as a marketing consultant focusing on early stage companies that need marketing magic but can't afford a full-time CMO, Chief Marketing Officer. So Jessica, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you for having me.
You describe yourself on LinkedIn in your headline, you describe yourself as an innovation ecosystem community builder, values aligner, and all in for KC, Kansas City. Will you tell us a little bit more about all of that and what you do?
Yeah. Well, I found that when you get the right people in a room, incredible things can happen. And usually it benefits me in the long run to bring incredible people together. It really comes from what I experienced and helped build in Chicago, and I'm trying to bring that to Kansas City because it's my hometown, and learning how to, like, the give first, get later mentality benefits everyone.
Love it. Love it. When we spoke earlier, you mentioned that you initially didn't want to be a self-employed consultant.
I did not.
What ultimately led you to embrace this path, despite your initial hesitation?
Well, I've always said throughout the years that you should listen for the echo. And especially when different people from different sectors and different industries and different statures inside of their business continually said the same things to me. Why do you not have your own agency? Why are you working here? Why are you doing this? I really wanted to quiet it down for as long as I could because I really take the role of mother and wife as my number one role. And I've seen and experienced through the years what it means to be a business owner. And I was scared of that. What ultimately led me to try it on my own was I hired an expert. I hired a coach, and my coach and I worked through my vision and what I want for myself in my future. And it was very clear that in order for me to have what I want, this is the path that I need to take.
Okay. Yeah. That's an important point. You asked, you got help.
Always.
Yeah, you hired a coach.
And,
Wonderful.
like I'm a big proponent in that. And I feel like working with entrepreneurs and like such incredibly smart people for the past 2 decades that like I can see like their niche, like that is what they're great at. And so I've learned through the years that what I'm great at and what other people are great at. And why would I try to ever pretend that I can be half as great as an expert? So I am a big proponent of, I have a pool guy, I have a cleaning lady, like I have a coach, like there's things that I will happily go do what I'm good at and make good money to pay other people to do what they're good at. And it helps me.
I love that philosophy. And that's an important point that I want to emphasize to people listening or viewing this is do what you're good at and outsource the rest to somebody who's better at that. Then wonderful, wonderful.
And I would like to add on to that, not only should they be better at it, clearly, but you why like even if I was really good at accounting, if it didn't bring me joy, I would outsource for it. So there's a lot of things now that I know I could do, and maybe I'm just as good as someone else. But if it's bringing me down or weighing heavy on me or something I'm always putting off, then I will go hire someone else to do it because clearly it's not in my forte.
Right, right. And it sounds like finding joy and enjoying what you do is important to you.
That's one of my number one values, AJ, is intentionally creating a life of joy. And I have found through over the years that if I'm not having fun, I'm not going to do it well, and I likely won't do it for a very long time, and enough time to reap the rewards. So I tend to filter things out now. If this is not aligned with joy, if this is not bringing me closer to joy, then it's a hard no.
And what is in it for you running your own business?
Being able to control the joy level. As if you're not the boss, you're listening to what the boss's priorities are. Maybe it's bring in revenue, bring in that horrible client that's going to treat all your employees wrong just because you care about the bottom line, which is, not something that I align with.
When we talked earlier, you talked about marketing magic. Can you break down what that means in practical terms for consultants who are struggling to market themselves?
Well, number one, talk to people, have friends, have great relationships with people who are good at it. Hire an expert to do it for you. These are not natural things for people that aren't good at it. So first, show yourself grace. It's not naturally a thing that most people know how to do. Marketing magic is really just people and knowing who you're trying to sell to, knowing what your messaging is, knowing why that's important, leading with the need. So if you're not leading with the need, then you're likely not capturing as many clients as you could or deserve. And I found that as business owners, especially early stage business owners or solopreneurs or those really niche people that are, in the AI world or whatever it is, they are into doing what they're good at, and their website doesn't tell their story. They're capturing emails maybe that say sign up for our newsletter, but they're not actually sending a newsletter. They don't have any social media presence, or maybe their last post was 4 years ago. And so like they're not thinking about the consumers or who their end target is. Like if I go to somebody's LinkedIn page that says that they are a podcaster and they haven't, promoted an episodes, for years, or they haven't, you know, published an episode in a long time, like I'm immediately dismissing them. And so the marketing magic for me is helping people find their people better and whatever that means. And every company is different. I really enjoy it when I get to sit down with business owners and they trust me enough to just talk to me about what they're doing, good and bad, just have some conversations. And then pretty quickly, I can usually find the holes and we can talk about how we can, you know, fill up those holes in a way that's hopefully fun and in a way that drives meaningful ROI for them.
You said you talked about leading with the need.
Yes.
Why is that important?
Because inherently, as human beings, we are selfish. That's just in our inner matrix, is whether we realize it or not, we're constantly asking ourselves, what's in it for me?
Mhm.
And so, as anyone trying to sell anything, whether that's a product or a service, you have to establish that your client, your end consumer, they need that. Or you have to tap in on emotions. Emotions drive everything in this world. And it's amazing to me how many people are clueless as to what's driving them and or where they're at. Like if you go on the street and you ask like 10 people, what's your goal? Like, what's your vision for 5 years? Like, most of them have no clue. Like, people are just out there living life every day. And it's important to like just stop for a minute and ask some questions and help, you know, those questions guide you to hopefully more money, more revenue, bigger
Mhm.
growth, more fun.
That's the WIFM, what's in it for me. So you would advise if you looked at a client's website or their LinkedIn profile, and if it did not communicate what's in it for me, then you would tell them to go back to, what would you tell them?
You don't want it to look too salesy. So it's very different between a personal LinkedIn and a company LinkedIn. Let's talk about the company LinkedIn. You need to talk about the problem you solve. And like it can't be as clear as what's in it for me. Like, but trick them into understanding that this is a problem that you have and here's how we can solve it. And, it's all about building a relationship. People like doing business with people they like and people like buying from brands that they like. And so on your personal LinkedIn, it's important to just be who you are. Hopefully it's a good person that people like. Be transparent. Allow show people who you are so you get an opportunity for them to like who you are and want to have a conversation and to do business with you because um you have been shiny. You've been authentic.
Authentic and transparent.
Yeah.
Good advice. Now, having listened to 1,300 founders tell their stories on Startup Hustle podcast, what patterns did you notice among the most successful entrepreneurs?
They surrounded themselves with people that were smarter than them.
Oh,
Um, they were humble. Um, they listened more than they spoke. They were open to failure. They shared about their failures. Um, they had realistic expectations. And that's a hard one. Like, let's talk about realistic expectations for a second, because as an early stage founder, as a business owner, we all, are scared. There's points where like, am I going to make it? Will I have enough payroll? What I'm not hitting the metrics or whatever that is. But the fake it till you make it is a real thing and is important. But I think it's so important for people to, also be transparent in, how you have failed before and what you've learned from it. And I enjoy being around the people that love talking about their failures. Like I get to learn from that and and realize that on this mountain of life, there's always going to be people at different stages of the mountain. And it's, really wise to identify the people up higher than you and, have the ask for a hand up. And I enjoyed Startup Hustle podcast so much because now my network is rich of so many people that are higher up on the mountain than me that have their hand out. All I have to do is ask for it.
So if you can, I'm going to put you on the spot. The things that you listed that were the patterns. One was, I mean, embracing failure and talking about it in the lessons. Can you remember the others?
Surrounding yourself with people smarter than you.
Okay.
Listening more than you speak. I hope I said ask the right questions, be curious. And humbleness.
Mhm.
And so I guess that gets me back to my point about, this humbleness. I think it's very important as a leader that you show that you believe and here's the way. Nobody wants to follow a CEO or, a leader that is, scared or not confident. But some of my best colleagues and leaders over the years have been the ones that just sat down with me and just asked me, like, what are you noticing? Like, just have those conversations with people and, like, store in all this data and then drive. A lot of business owners tend to just drive. I know the way. I've done, and you do know the way. You've done it before. You can keep doing it. But the really successful ones, the ones that I enjoyed really listening to, were the ones that were driving but also listening.
And learning from others.
Yeah.
Yeah. You mentioned the challenge of that you are not building Jessica's brand, you're building an ecosystem. So how do you balance building your personal brand versus creating something larger, that ecosystem?
I don't know how I'm doing. I'm literally in the thick of it. And some days I think, I've got this, I'm killing it. And then, like a normal entrepreneurship, 60 seconds later, oh, complete failure. I don't know what I'm doing. So I'm definitely on the ride, but I have enjoyed just reaping what I sow when it comes to relationships and community. And I found that you can kind of kill multiple birds with one stone when you have an active community. And so I started building Back to KC with Darcy Howe. She's the most active venture capitalist in the state of Kansas with her VC fund called KC Rise Fund. Really proud of the work she does through KC Rise Fund and investing here in the Midwest. And we started this, group community called Back to KC, where we would invite former Kansas Cityans to come back to their hometown and engage with their hometown, move here, invest here, hire people from here. Worst case scenario, go back to Austin or Boston or Silicon Valley and speak highly about your hometown because it's not the same hometown that you once knew. And it really works. Back to KC, like these people do move back. And they want to be connected. They want more community. And so we built new to KC so that when they land here and they're new, they're back, they can, find their other angel investor friends or AI people or whatever they're looking for. And what I found while I was building this and kind of building my own personal brand at the same time as I'm helping the ecosystem grow and helping people find their people, what I realized is that, like, I'm building other brands. Like, I'm building this 2KC community and it's thriving, but like, where's my own branding? And so that's when I started exposing my own personal LLC. And I've really tried to, in the past 2 or 3 in 2025, lead with the fact that my own personal marketing company is called Social Balances. And, we help you find the people that you need to grow your business and, add marketing magic to wherever your company needs in order to scale. And so, like, I found this wonderful opportunity to weave these networks together and kill many birds with one stone. So the Back to KC and the New to KC are programs and communities of great people. And if I serve them well, they will serve my own business well. And I genuinely feel like when you do good for others, the world, the universe, God, whomever it is, and your beliefs, it comes back to you, and the whole intentionality and what you are seeking. If you look for it, it's there.
Okay. So, I mean, you emphasize this relationship building, this community building, and when you build the communities, you find that it benefits your business.
Sure.
Okay. Because, I mean, how does that work?
Well, I'll give you an example. So on Wednesday, this is just a couple of days ago, we had a new to KC meetup. I called it Founder, Investor, and Biz Connector Meetup. And I invited all of the people that have just been giving me their emails when they visit newtokc.com. So it wasn't too hard for me to find the community. I've been collecting emails and data, and that's so important when you're building a community, is to know who your community is. Like, this is not what Jessica wants. Like, we hosted a soccer event. I don't play soccer. We hosted a pickleball event. We are doing an urban hike in a couple of weeks. Like, that's not really my jam, but it's what the community wants. So we'll create it and we'll bring those people together and people will have fun. And the vibe is not something that you get at most events, at least not the ones I've been a privy to. If you get people in the room that are all the same, they all have the same goal, and that is to build their business and make great connections and enjoy Kansas City, their beloved hometown. When you get there's like I can't invite any bad actors. Like, there sometimes, like, you know a stick in the mud can try to come and ruin the community. It's important to just, not give them the address. So I had this
Yeah.
event. It was wonderful. I had a sponsor for it because I had told the sponsor, no one knows that you do valuations in Kansas City. I've been sending founders to Chicago at this, capital company that I used to use for valuations. No one knows that you're offering that in Kansas City. You have great clients. You do great work. You should sponsor this happy hour, and I'll bring 150 of your target clients in a room, and you can just meet them and get to know each other and start building a relationship. And so now he has 150 new leads, 10 of which shook his hand and said, I want to have coffee. I need your services. So, like, my sponsor is going to see, handsomely, the ROI on this. I mean, if he doesn't close at least 5 new clients out of the 150, because they're all, people told him, um, so, my client is winning. All the people in the room won because they got free drinks and food because the sponsor paid for it. And
Mhm.
they also got to meet other people. And so everyone wins. And so when you create that trifecta win, the people, the sponsor, me, the bar, whatever it is, when you create all these wins, now you have people invested in the community. Now you have people that want to come back, and almost like it comes like with this like human need to give back, this whole get give type thing. And when you're building opportunities for people to get so much, like, people land jobs, people get investors, people find clients. Like, it's not like they're just, meeting, a just a stick in the mud. They're meeting other
Mhm.
doers, and that's valuable, especially in this AI world where we don't know if anybody's writing anything that is actually them writing anymore.
Yeah. I love that idea for self-employed consultants. What a great idea of building communities of their clients.
And so
And
it all
then,
comes back to leading with the need. If you know what your clients need, which who doesn't need more business? Like, if you know that all of your clients need teachers, or, then host a robotics event. And this is how we can help you, teachers. You get all the teachers in the room. It's sponsored by the person who needs the teachers. And now everybody's happy.
Yeah, that's so great. I'm going to take your advice and do something for self-employed consultants
Well, that's
out
great.
of
If you
this.
need someone to coach you or advise you, you check me out on socialbalances.com. I'll help guide you.
Wonderful. Now I'm going to switch gears a little bit. What mindset shifts have been most important in your journey as a self-employed consultant?
Belief.
Belief. Okay, tell me more.
If I belief is so powerful. If I notice myself in a state of, fear, confusion, doubt is a big one. I sit with that for a second and I, work through it. You can't just suppress things, but you also have to like realize like what are the stories that the mind is telling that is making you believe that doubt or like lean into that. Because if you sit quietly with your mind and it will dissipate. You can't be in a state of fear if you're not feeding it. And so like it's really important for me to, lead like to believe. And if I don't believe, then that's not good.
Okay.
Like it's failure. It's close up shop. Like if you don't believe in yourself, why would your clients believe enough to pay for you? Like you're dead in the water if you don't have belief. And actively be feeding it every day and whatever that nutrients is that you need, whether that's closing more clients or calling 100 leads every day or hosting more events or whatever you need to feed that belief, you better be scheduling in time to feed the belief.
What do you do to feed your belief every day?
A good question. Um, I like to just, remember that I'm having fun. I'm doing the things that I said I wanted to do. And so when fear creeps in for me or doubt or, I get a no that I thought was a yes or whatever that trigger is, so to speak, it's important for me to remember that I'm doing all the things that I said I was going to do. Like here's the business plan, which is constantly being reiterated because we all know that no business plan stays the same. But I'm having fun every day. I don't even realize that I'm working. The community is telling me how valuable I am. My love language is words of affirmation. And so I have beautifully surrounded myself with people who feed me that. And, um, I have a really great network of people.
I love it. What specific marketing approaches, now we're going to pick your brain a little bit on marketing, have
Okay.
you found are most effective for consultants with limited time and resources?
Scheduling in batches is very important. So,
Okay.
um, if you have a day a month, whatever your cadence is, you know, and leverage AI because it's a tool to help you. Don't depend on it, but leverage it. And create a content calendar. You know, purchase Zoho or any of Orca or any of the Hootsuite, any of the thousands of platforms out there for you now, and spend a day creating your 2 or 3 social media posts every week. Every day, whatever your cadence is, and schedule it all out so that you only have to think about it once a month. It's not that pesky little thing that you got to deal with every day. And we all know as business owners, it takes time to move from one thing to the next, like to hop into that box, and you're always getting pulled away from the phone or from somebody needing this. And so if you could just, be totally in tunnel vision mode for social media or whatever that you know thing is, that elephant that you have to deal with every month. And for me, that used to be at my jobs, monthly newsletters. Gosh, I hated writing monthly newsletters for all of the companies I've ever worked at because I don't really find value in them. And so it was hard for me to write them when I know I wouldn't want to read them. As it was just, it, I don't do monthly newsletters yet for new to KC or back to KC. I probably should because they're important and not everyone is like me. Some people really like newsletters. but I'm not quite there yet. I need to outsource to someone who enjoys it.
Makes sense.
Yes.
Are you, is your business where you thought it would be by now?
Well, I actually never thought that Social Balances would ever be alive and have its own website. I always thought that I would just quietly be in the shadows collecting my little one-off checks here and there to the founders that I would help on the side because I don't like to work for free and I was helping a lot of people. So I'm already in the I can't believe I'm here stage and I'm only 3 months in. Um, so I'm just excited for what the future holds for me. I have really big, audacious goals, and I firmly believe that action creates reaction. So I'm just going to keep acting and see what happens. And as long as I'm paying my bills and having fun, then life is good.
Okay. What are your big, hairy, audacious goals?
I have a certain revenue mark that I want to meet this year, and it is, almost 4 times as much as my W-2 amount. I don't want to just say it on. I don't want to just give away my number. So whatever your number is, people that are listening, for your annual recurring revenue, like I encourage you to dream big and like then start like I have it like marked off as quarterly goals. Like I know that quarter one is going to be really hard for me because it's my first quarter ever. And so I made that significantly smaller than quarter three. But I also left quarter four very small because everybody knows nobody does deals at the end of the year. And so quarter three is my biggest, income month. And so because I've written that out and because I know what my goals are, I've just broken it down into what do I need to do in order for me to hit that. And I need to be able to bring in some big contracts. And so now in Q1, I've been submitting lots of bids to, the state of Kansas and KC Biohub here in Kansas City and people with, six-figure budgets that need what I can offer. And we'll hope that I get one of these many bids that I have out there. And if not, then, we'll see. But I think I will.
Okay. And what will you do if you don't?
I'm always creating little sources of revenue. Mm. So number one thing as a consultant is very, very important that you have recurring revenue. Like I have 4 clients for Social Balances right now that I am guaranteed they can cut their contract whenever they want to. They're not stuck with me forever. But I can go to bed at night knowing that they're supposed to be paying me this amount of money next month or, in the next 4 weeks. And so I can sleep at night knowing that I can cover my bills through the recurring revenue. But the recurring revenue is not my audacious goal. I
Okay.
don't know if I can hit my recurring revenue. Maybe not as one person. I would have to hire.
But you have the recurring revenue that gives you the peace of mind. Those clients may not be the ones that you ultimately want to work with, but or they are, but you want more.
Correct. I would never work with a client that I didn't want to work with. Period.
Okay.
Um,
Okay.
but they don't have the budget that I want. They're growing companies. They would prefer to pay $1,000 to $4,000 a month, whereas I would like to get a chunk, $100,000 client to do this in 4 months and be done.
Got it. Got it.
I'm just playing. I mean, honestly, I'm just seeing, what will work and constantly asking myself, is this aligned with my goals?
Yeah, I love it. I to finish up, what 3 specific pieces of advice would you give to a consultant who is struggling to grow their business?
Find people who are doing it, who have done it. Find people at the top of the mountain that will hand their hand out to you and lift you up. surround yourself with smarter people. I guess that's the first advice. Number
Okay.
two, I guess that's the same, hire a coach. Back on number one. Belief, tap into your belief. Think about your whys. Why are you doing this? Do you have no belief? Remember that you are not the brain. You have control over your brain, so you can create whatever story you want to create in your mind. The brain is so powerful, and if you're having a bad day, sit in it for a second, but you can choose what energy you want to bring to the world. You can choose, I know that, like, that sounds kind of foolish, that, you know, I'm struggling in my consulting business and I can just choose to not struggle. But I would encourage the second piece of advice to be choose a different perspective. Third and last piece of advice is nothing stays the same forever. Try something. The definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over and over again. So, Mr. or Mrs. Consultant that's struggling, try something new, innovate. Be
Great.
around other people, steal their ideas. Your competitors are not, bad people. I'm friends with my competitors. Like, I want to learn from them. I want to, the good and the bad. And, refer people. Like, not everybody is, perfect for me. That client that I wouldn't want to work with, that would take away my joy, I'll give it to a competitor all day long. Here you go.
Yeah. So it's reach out to people above you on the mountain and who are willing to extend a hand. The second piece is the importance of mindset, which so jives with me because I believe that having the right mindset is foundational to us being able to build a successful business.
Absolutely.
And then the third one
was do something different. Nothing stays the same in this world. You should be evolving and changing and trying new things so that you don't become stale and boring.
Yes. And I mean, I look at it as it's like our business is a learning lab.
Yeah.
We go to work in a lab every day. We're scientists and we experiment. We put together experiments and we try them and we gather the data, and then we decide if that experiment was successful or not. And if not, how can we pivot and go a different direction, try something different?
Absolutely.
Yeah, wonderful. Any last sage words of advice or anything else you'd like to end the podcast on?
I just want, as a super connector, I just want anyone listening to feel free to find me on LinkedIn. Jessica Powell, Kansas City should probably get you there. I love helping the business community. So if you have any ties to Kansas City, if you want ties to Kansas City, if you're a founder, if you just want to chat, reach out to me on LinkedIn, and love to hear your story.
And that makes this podcast a wrap for today. Well, that brings us to the end of another episode of Thriving Through. I hope today's conversation has given you not just inspiration, but practical, actionable insights that you can apply to your own consulting journey. Remember, building a thriving consulting practice isn't about following someone else's blueprint perfectly. It's about finding your own path and staying true to your vision while learning from those who've walked similar roads. If today's episode resonated with you, I'd love to hear about it. Share your biggest takeaway on LinkedIn and tag me. Leave a review on your favorite podcast platform. Your feedback helps other independent consultants find our community and join this conversation. And don't forget to hit subscribe to ensure you never miss an episode. Each week, we'll bring you more honest conversations and practical strategies to help you build a consulting business that works for you. Until next time, keep pushing forward, stay curious, and remember, you're not just surviving in consulting, you're thriving through it.